Morning. It happens to be the 16th of September. Nice to have you with us on the Art Lewis Show. Later on after the 10 o'clock news, we'll have open phones right through 11:30 this morning. But for this hour, we're going to talk about public media, particularly Delta Public Media, radio, television, and all those good things, and what the recent cuts in funding have meant for them and what's going to happen in the future. We have a couple of guests with us to talk about it this morning. First of all, he's the general manager of Delta's television and radio stations. We say good morning to Tom Bennett.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Got you on the other side of the microphone this time.
Good morning again.
And also with us this morning is Pam Clark. She is the Executive Director of Advancement at Delta College. Pam, good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Good
nice to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. Delta's public television, how far back does it go?
1964.
You guys were way ahead of the curve.
We were way ahead of the curve. It was talked about. The college itself opened in 1961, and they were already talking about doing closed circuit and how could we get that even beyond the building into the community educational programming. So that's how it started.
And I told you before we went on the air, my relationship with Delta Television, as you know, Tom,
Yeah.
I got here in 74, and that's when it began. What's really interesting, not to do with radio or television, but if you remember back then, broadcast stations had to do community assessments. We went out and talked to community leaders to find out what three leading issues were that we would then address with programming. I got here in February of 74. In March of 74, I was assigned a task. My community assessment was with Don Carline.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's one of the first people I meet when I get here. Go into his office, we sit down, I explain what we're going to do. And for 45 minutes, he told me why Saginaw Bay and Midland should be one major city. One megalopolis, you know. He was great. And from that, and I don't even know how I got involved in it. Remember the auctions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to see auctions again now that you – we'll talk about that. Anyway, so my relationship with Delta Public Television has been a long one and continues to this day.
Absolutely.
So Corporation for Public Broadcasting ceases to exist, if in effect, all the funding cut. What did that mean to your institution?
Well, I think, first of all, there's a lot of confusion out there about what's being cut and what are the effects going to be. So you mentioned the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So people hear that and they think, well, PBS and NPR are being, eliminated. And they're not. It's no. Really a misinformation out there.
They were a money funnel.
Correct. CPB was strictly the government agency that distributed the money to the local stations. And that's what's really key about all this is that PBS and NPR are not being defunded, are not going away. It's the local stations that are going to be severely affected by all of this. And, we're starting to see some of that now at some of the stations. And it's sad. You mentioned the history about, public media in our area and how important stations are to the local community, and they tell the stories of the local community. And those are the type of things that people are eventually going to see get affected.
So in dollars, what did it mean to the university?
So CPB funding is 1/3 of our budget.
Oh, that much?
Yes, it comes out to $1 million for Delta College Public Media. And that's, an average. It varies from year to year. But we're basically 1/3 funded through CPB, 1/3 by the college, who provides a lot of the facilities and the staffing and stuff. And then 1/3 through viewers and listeners like you. So paying for the programming has always been the biggest cost for us. Yep. And it continues to be. So
these are, for those that don't understand, when you say paying for the programming,
yeah,
syndicated fees and the like. because the stuff you get from the public,
Right. We purchase
you
programming.
purchase programming just like everybody else does.
Right. Yeah, nothing is free. So we purchase from a lot of different sources, but the largest one is are from PBS and NPR.
Yeah.
So that cost has been traditionally funded by money that we raise. So we would use the money from the federal government to seed money to raise additional dollars to help pay for programming. So it's a little bit of a double hit. We're losing the federal funding, but we're also losing some of our ability to raise additional funds.
Is there another hit on top of that? And by that I mean NPR, PBS also lost some funding. Are they raising their fees?
They are not. As a matter of fact, this year they just announced that they're reducing the fees to help stations stay afloat during this time. So they're reducing 20% of the fees that they charge stations. It varies because it depends on, several factors, but basically how hard you're being hit by the cut.
So, Pam, does the college step up?
Well, as Tom said, it was pretty much a three-legged stool with our funding sources. The college, very, very supportive. Our president, our board have been very, very supportive and have let all of the staff know that, but they can't handle $1 million. So what we have is we are, much like the college, very fiscally responsible, and we have set aside out of each year's budget over many, many years the dollars that we need to replace and repair equipment. And so that is what we are going to use to fill that hole for a while until we can figure out what to do next.
Or until that equipment breaks?
Well,
And we know about that.
we know, but the staff has just been wonderful, and they're very fiscally responsible and don't get right to the end and say, uh-oh, we're out of money. They make sure that the college is never asked for $1 million to replace a tower or whatever it is. We always make sure we have some savings for that kind of stuff.
Don't replace that tower. We're up on it.
I know.
I was going to point that out.
We had to reduce power the other day because Verizon was up there doing work on it.
Absolutely. And so those are the things, in media we share in this market, those kinds of things. They are assets that benefit a lot of the community. So to answer your question, the college can't come up with $1 million. They're very supportive, and they're trying to help us figure out what to do next. And luckily for us, we do have that cushion, that pad of what we presumed would be capital replacement equipment, like on a rainy day basis. But it's raining now, and so we are going to tap into that.
And does that put off equipment purchases for now?
It does. We are in the process of doing some stuff that we are finishing up, so that has to continue because it's already started. But obviously, we're going to be as fiscally responsible as we can, looking at revenue projections, looking at expense projections, and try to mitigate both ends of it.
And we should also understand, folks, this is a training ground for young people coming into the business.
Correct.
And one of the things Delta has is you have some of the latest technology. You're not training them on old stuff.
Yeah, we're proud of the fact that we're a community college, which is very few across the nation have a PBS and NPR station at a community college. So we use that to our advantage to help train our students, both in we did a renovation a few years ago, and one of the things we wanted to do, we brought down the EMB program, Electronic Media Broadcasting Program, and we brought down the journalism program to be right next to us so we could easily incorporate them into the operation. I'm proud to say that we just hired a new person on radio. You may have heard her, Michaela Blue. She was a Delta student in the journalism program, went through the interviewing process, got the job. And so it's not only a learning ground, it's an opportunity for employment.
Work ground. Yeah. Well, if your cameras break down and you have to bring out the old Image Orthicons, I have a tube for you at home I can give you.
We might take you up on that, but we hope not.
Well, I hope not, too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break and come back with our guests as we talk about public television and radio at Delta College and funding and all that good stuff.
The Wild-Eyed Southern Boys.
Oh, yes, all that technical stuff. It doesn't want to work. Let's try it again, just for the fun of it. I can do that because I have broadcaster sitting in front of me. The general manager of Delta TV and Radio is Tom Bennett. He is sitting with us this morning. Pam Clark is the executive director of advancement. And so the question begs, since you lose approximately a third of your budget, got to be replaced. Is it reasonable to expect more pledging periods, for example?
I wouldn't say that. It's certainly in the cards. I mean, we are going to have to do the best we can to increase revenue. I would say right now, no. But we're hopeful that there's going to be some federal funding coming back for local stations. As I said earlier,
Has it been talked about?
It has. There's been a lot of talk about this budget, which is coming up pretty quick here.
They can't seem to agree on.
If they don't shut the government down first.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But we know that there is bipartisan support for public media, especially for local stations in Congress. We also know that the majority of the American people out there want to see public media get funded. So we think there is a groundswell. We know that when this was all being talked about, over 3 million people sent messages to Congress saying, protect public media. So we know that there is a feeling out there that local stations are going to be affected. It's not the nationals that are going away. It's my local station that's going to get hurt. So we're hoping that some, whatever they want to call it, if they want to call it local stations, local media, some type of federal funding that will be put back into the budget.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that the nationals aren't the ones getting hurt in this thing. Because in some ways, hear me out, they were the problem because of what many perceived as a leaning politically. And that caused this administration to do what it did. I don't know the answer to that. I don't have the answer to that.
No.
And that's why probably anything that comes back in any form will not in any way flow to either PBS or NPR, but strictly to the stations.
I think you're right. I
And
think you're
that's-
absolutely right.
Yeah, that's the option that has been discussed. The other is maybe they can only do small stations.
Broadcasting from the Stormmaster.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that was a storm coming in. Watch out. It might be blue skies out there, but watch out, folks.
Oh, good grief.
Anyway, I know that even during the debates, Senator Mike Rounds, I think he's South Dakota, he was promised for your tribal colleges and your very small colleges out in those areas, the administration will do something. And so it may come in that way where they just do small stations, or if that is the case, Delta still would qualify under those criteria. So we're hopeful that something may come yet in this upcoming year.
It's, I mean, there are parts of the country that depend on.
I mean, when you get to Alaska, I mean, it is the news and alert system for the whole state is their public radio stations. So there's areas where it's just critical.
Yeah, there's very few locally owned broadcast stations anymore. And the local PBS and NPR stations are locally owned. And so they have the local community in mind in their mission.
Well, we're a station that's not locally owned, but we're community oriented. Problem is, and you're absolutely right, there's not a lot of us left.
Right.
The legacy stations are slowly but surely disappearing.
Yeah.
And that's not good. Not good for a community.
No, well, there's a lot of things here. For example, in Saginaw, we have a newspaper, but it's a shadow of what it used to be. The question is, who's keeping the history? Let's just say Saginaw for the moment. If I wanted to know what happened in 1931 in Saginaw on this day, I could go to the library, sit down, and go through the microfiche, find the newspaper for that day and read everything that happened that day. 50 years from now, who's going to look back at 2025 and be able to find out what happened today?
It's a very good point. News deserts have been happening across the country for a lot of years now, and it's gotten to the point where people are no longer getting the information about where they live. So it is a problem that we got to figure out how to solve. And I know that public media is looking to step into that area more and more. And it's one of those growth areas, I think, that public media can help out in.
One of the things public television has done very, very well over the years is provided children's programming. Has any of that been affected?
It is. From a national standpoint, they've had to cut some of their funding for the development of programming. If you're familiar with the Ready to Learn program, that was defunded as well, which helps especially underserved and low-income families with education. At our college and our station, we go out into the school systems and help instructors with PBS Learning Media products. So they take those into the classroom and help with reading and literacy and books for the summer. So all those type of things are in danger of being defunded.
Tom, remind me, doesn't Delta have multiple channels?
We do. So we are 19.1 is our main station, but we have actually 5 channels that broadcast. So you
And
have,
a lot of those are educational, right?
correct. So 19.1 is our main PBS channel. 19.2 is the World Channel, which has a lot of really in-depth programming about history. The Create Channel is 19.3. That is the how-to channel, so travel, leisure, woodworking, that type of stuff. 19.4 is our Kids Channel, 24/7 kids programming over the air for free that your young children can sit in front of. And like my boss used to say, the worst thing that could happen is they're going to learn something.
Right. So, over the years, of course, pledge periods are well known, and major programs are played and interrupted for pledging and played again. And have you seen, since all this came down, an influx of donations from the public?
We've seen an uptick, I think, across the country. Every station has seen an uptick in donations. We know how passionate people are about funding for public media, so they've seen the crisis that's kind of taking shape here and have stepped up. The problem is it's probably going to be a blip. It's nothing that's sustainable. So we always say there is no direct replacement for federal funding. We're not going to be able to pull in an extra $1 million a year from our viewers and listeners out there. We are hopeful that they're going to help us through this transition period, but long term, we just don't see it's a sustainable solution.
No, and you have competition in the market. You have Central Michigan and other schools that also same position you are.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Art, I want to mention that we have seen an uptick of larger gifts, $500 or more, from people who have not given that much before, and a couple that were $5,000. So our viewers and listeners have heard about the story and have stepped up. But again, will they do that year after year? That's questionable.
I will take a break, come back, talk more about it with our guests after these notes.
It could be the best years of...
Back with you in studio with me is Tom Bennett. He is the general manager of public television and radio at Delta College, and the executive director of advancement, Pam Clark, also with us this morning as we talk about funding cuts in public broadcasting and how it impacts Delta College, which is the licensee of the public stations. We were kidding earlier about the fact when I got here in '74 and the auction was going on. That was a difficult thing to do. Took 100 or more volunteers, a lot of hours and time, but raised a lot of money. What else can you do besides pledge periods to raise funds to bring in that money you need?
Well, we are looking at a number of options. We have had some people who have called in, raised their hand, and said, I think I'd like to give more money. I think I'd like to think about maybe making an estate plan, maybe making a sizable gift to support the operation. So we are we have 3 people in particular who have done that since they heard about the CPB funding cuts. So it may be, instead of on air, a bit more personal connections to some of those people who have relied upon us for years and years.
Has to be both, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to be both.
Yeah.
The auction, I will just mention, they ended up ending that as they had a lot of volunteers who were women who were not working outside of the home.
Times changed.
As that changed, they no longer had the volunteer base, and that's what really kind of crippled it.
You often wonder if you could find that again, if you could do something like that again.
You might be able to do it like for once. I don't know about annually. If you did a one-time thing, you
It'd be
might
fun
be
to
able
try
to do
it, though. I mean, it was so iconic.
Yeah.
You just want to get on there and be that auctioneer, don't you?
I did that.
Yeah.
I have to say, we were recently looking through some photos as Don Carline passed this summer.
Right.
And we were looking for a number of photos. And I have one of him as an auctioneer in the gym at Delta College wearing white shoes.
Oh,
The man
no
never,
boots.
no cowboy boots. Yes, that was very unusual.
Indeed.
It went with his leisure suit.
A lot of fond memories of it, though. I mean, it was
Absolutely.
interesting because I got here and I didn't know anything about the community or anything else, and here I am out there hawking items, and I'm going, this is fun.
Oh, I think we have a photo of you two. We have Eric Gila and
Oh, yeah.
a number
Oh,
of
yeah,
people
we were
running
all out
those
there.
boards.
Yeah.
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 Lots of fun.
It was kind of a neat community thing
It really was.
because you went out there and you found a lot of the movers and shakers in the community participated in it.
That's for sure. And then companies would send phone banks. All of their employees would come out in an evening and answer phones. So we'd have Dow or
Yep.
one of the banks. They'd all man the phones and take those pledges and run the slips down to you, the auctioneer, to be able to update those boards. So
The other thing, of course, you've had for years and years local programming. And one of them is Follow Up with Mike Redford, which I've done, which I will do again this year. That's an important part of what you do, isn't it? Because that's one of the opportunities where students learn to do it.
It is. It's important for several reasons. One is opportunity for learning, but it's a community affairs program. So we're talking about local stuff that's going on that people might not know about or need more information about. So the topics that we do, we'll either take a national topic and try to localize it for what's going on, or something that's really specifically local that needs to be talked about. So you mentioned the news going away. In a lot of newspapers going away in the area. This is one of the ways where we can bring people in to talk about important community events and important local events that really need to be discussed and need to be thought about, especially before elections.
Yeah, and as long as everybody understands it's not a news show, it's an opinion show, which is exactly what this is.
True, very true.
And that's confusing to a lot of people. And unfortunately, the national media has done a poor job of separating themselves from it.
Yeah.
One way or another.
they do
One way or
tend to
another.
blend in people's minds, and they think it's
Well,
news.
in the old days, think about this. In the old days, you picked up your newspaper, you may have known which way it leaned. And some of them were blatant about it. I mean, you had the so-and-so Republican, the so-and-so Democrat. Those were the banners. We didn't have that around here. We had the second on news, which was fine. But you knew if you wanted their opinion, you went to the opinion page.
Right.
If you wanted the news, you went to the news pages. And never the twain shall meet. But that was then.
Those standards
This
have gone
is
by the
now.
wayside.
Yeah, unfortunately. Take our last break and come back and finish up with our guests. And let me talk about Quick Lane in Freeland next to McDonald Ford on the McDonald Ford property. It's the same company. And as you know, at least for a good part of this year, spring, summer, allergies have been afoot. And Quick Lane has an answer to keep you healthy while you're driving. It's called FrigiFresh. And here's John from Quick Lane to tell you all about it.
Reggie Fresh. Hi.
All right, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show, and one final segment with our guests from Delta College, Public Television and Radio. Its general manager, he is Thomas Bennett, and Pamela Clark with us. She is the executive director of Advancement. So you mentioned that you have this capital fund set aside for equipment problems and replacement and all of that, and you're going to start to use a little of it. How long can it last?
I would say probably, well, the president came down and talked to the staff in public meeting and said, we have no worries through next June. We're good. You know, he didn't want people through the holidays worrying,
Right.
maybe we can't buy presents, all of that kind of stuff. It probably will go beyond that some, whether it's 6 months to another year. But there's a point at which now you've depleted all of your equipment money, and if something does happen, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So we're good for a year or so. You know, I will say some of the stations across the country, they're laying people off because they probably rode their budget to be an annual replacement cycle. There is one station that's announced, their university has announced, that they are not able, due to enrollment declines at the university, they can't pick anything up, and so they've decided they're going to close. First one we've heard that's actually just going to go out.
And that's at Penn State University.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's a significant,
that's big.
big player.
So we are not in that situation, which we are very grateful for. But, you know, we're frugal, so we've saved.
Well, it's, you know, do you see, how do I put it, a regionalization of frequencies at some point down the road where multiple universities all get together, but it's one frequency, so to speak?
Yeah, certainly there's state-run systems out there. So like Wisconsin's a state-run system. So all those stations are interdependent of each other. In Michigan, we have 6 local PBS and NPR stations that cover the whole state. So we work together already. We belong to what's called the MAPB, the Michigan Association of Public Broadcasters. So we meet and talk all the time about ways that we can work together. Obviously, those discussions have taken on a new meaning now because we're going to be looking at, you know, ways that we can possibly save money by doing some stuff. But it's such a process to be able to make that happen. We all need to have enough time to be able to come together and talk about those things.
Is there any advantage in negotiating with program suppliers as a group?
There is, and PBS does that already, so they get discounts because they can buy such large volumes of the programming. So individual stations trying to do it, or maybe even state-run systems trying to do it, probably are not going to get a better discount than what they're already getting. A lot of the program services out there have recognized what's going on, and they're trying to help as well, and are contacting and telling stations, we're here for you, and we're going to do whatever we can.
Tom, what's the interest of young people in going into broadcasting today? I mean, first and foremost, you're an educational institution, and the stations are all created to educate people in how to broadcast. What's the interest?
Well, as we've been talking about in between segments here, technology is changing everything. We've been talking about doing remote productions and automation and everything else. So is there an interest? Yeah, I think there is. People love to tell stories, and that's what we do. Whether it's on TV or radio, we tell stories. People are still doing that. They're just doing it in a different way. So we have been investing in doing more online and getting our information out on different platforms and different sources.
Just like us.
Yep. So students are learning the new technology. Sometimes they're teaching us the new technology and the way they're doing things.
I mean, it's no secret that broadcast media around the country has had a difficult time. One of the saving graces is digital. And our sales folks, we don't call them sales folks, we call them integrated marketing associates, right? Because a third of what we do is digital. That's how we survive it, and it's a trend in the industry. The other thing that's happened is